Hey everyone, welcome back to the RetroBreak Podcast. This is episode 61, and in today's episode, I'm going to be kind of talking about ways that I'm hoping to be able to start enjoying games again. So, if you listened to the last episode, you'll know that a lot of things have gone fairly badly for me recently. My uncle passed away tragically. There's been a lot of issues with work, and obviously arranging everything for the funeral hasn't been easy either. So, there's a lot playing on my mind. There's a lot going on. Hopefully it will all calm down again soon, but basically, instead of playing anything, my mind's been a bit all over the place. So I decided, instead of trying to settle down, I would actually reinvent my room, reinvent my game room to try and make it a bit more comfortable for me in the future, and to try and clear up a bunch of the issues that I've been having with my setup recently as well. So if you saw my last video on the main channel, which is actually doing really well, and there's been a lot of very positive feedback on it, I've basically moved all the consoles from where they used to be, behind me, over to the corner of the room where the shelves used to be, and that's gave me a bit more space to spread things out a bit nicer, and to also think about a new cable management system, basically, so I don't have wires trailing all across the floor, and I can cut down on the length of some of the cables as well. So hopefully that will actually help with the compatibility of some of the signal, because it was degrading quite a bit using a really long HDMI cable. It's still not ideal being on that side of the room, and I'm definitely not ready yet to jump back into gaming over there just yet, but things are on the right track. So my main focus was to be able to display all the consoles that I want to, but also be able to have them all plugged in, which was something that was getting increasingly more frustrating to actually be able to pull off when they were on the other side of the room, because as I would add another console, I would have to try and move the entire shelving unit out of the way in order to put some wires behind it. The plugs were actually behind one of the shelves on the side, so I would have to take all my games off and pull out the panel at the back. Hopefully over here everything's a lot more manageable because it's a lot more easy to access. And if you have a look at the video, you'll see some of the consoles that I've laid out. I've actually found some shelving extension units as well, which allow me to have two different consoles per row. So some of them, like the GameCube and the Wii on the far top right corner that I showed off in the video, they're actually now separated onto two different rows, which is a lot easier. But I have been running into a lot of issues with all the consoles that are set up there, and I want to improve a lot of them, so I want to try and turn that into a video series that I can try and talk about getting some more modded systems, get some better cable management and better RGB SCART cables instead of composite, and even some of the component cables aren't really working properly because I want to be able to still play on a CRT. And I've been keeping an eye out on eBay for a really nice CRT that will hopefully find its way into my either bid in history or into my buy it now library, so that I can get a nice new, I'm thinking 21-inch CRT monitor. I've only got a tiny little 14-inch one, and it's so small that it doesn't even have proper scan lines. So yeah, I would love to get a new CRT, and I also got something else really cool, which is the analog bridge for the Morph 4K. So that means that I don't need to have a separate box in order to transfer the signal into the Morph. I can now actually just use the Morph itself, so I can remove the need to have the OSSC as a separate entity in my setup, which is great, and that's definitely streamlined a lot of the cable management. And I can also do away with that really cheap SCART to HDMI adapter as well. So really great things with the new setup, and it seems to be working well. There definitely are a few issues with the analog bridge for the Morph, which I might cover either in the next video or in a video in the future, because there's a lot of weird issues with it which I think can be solved, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. And maybe if I try and do what I can and then show it on YouTube, maybe someone in the comments can help instead. That might be a good way to go about it, because there's some annoying issues, like if I boot up the N64, it kind of crops off the right side of the screen, so I actually need to go into the settings and force it to basically show more of the display than it's willing to, which is really frustrating, and I don't really understand why it's doing that. There's another issue with the GameCube where everything displays more purple than it should, so I have to then dial the colours back in after. But then I can get it looking exactly the same as it does on the CRT, so I'm really confused why some of the issues are happening, because I've got definitely the best quality cables that I can get. I've got them all from retrogamingcables.co.uk, which is a really reputable supplier, so if you're ever on the lookout for any good retro gaming cables, definitely go there, because they've definitely got you covered. But there is something with the connection to the analog bridge which is causing some weird artifacts, basically. So I'll try and get to the bottom of that, but for the most part, things should be pretty much good to go in terms of streaming and recording. I have also ordered a green screen so that when I sit on that side of the room, I can actually have the green screen behind me, and that will help a lot when it comes to streaming. I think that will look really cool. I'm working on a brand new streaming setup, and hopefully that means that I'll get back to finishing Metal Gear Solid soon as well, because I really want to get back to that game. And I've also got the Mister plugged in over there as well. So for the consoles that aren't quite working properly, I do have that as a backup. And that's also a way of playing some of the consoles that otherwise don't work on the CRT that I've got at the minute. I can actually play them in colour using the Mister on the CRT, which is weird. So for things like the PC Engine is one of them. I can't get that to display in colour for some reason. But if I play it on the Mister using the Mister Core instead, for whatever reason, the way the VGA translates into RGB seems to fix it on this particular screen. But I'm hoping that whatever CRT I manage to get in the future can actually handle the Japanese signals properly from original hardware. That'll be really nice. And the last thing that I want to say in terms of my new streaming and gaming setup is that there's currently no really comfortable way to sit over there. So I have a chair from downstairs, but it's just kind of awkward, and the CRT was quite low down. So at the minute I've fixed it by just wheeling over my office chair and having the CRT on a big plastic box, but I don't really think that's an end goal. That's kind of just a stopgap for now. Oh, also something really, really frustrating and really sad that happened earlier while I was trying to get that streaming setup over there to work. I had my Sony a6400 camera plugged in, which was the camera I used before the one that I'm using now, which is the Sony a7S III. But with the 6400, I plugged it in using a dummy battery. So it's basically powered from the wall, and then you can use a dummy battery to plug that into the camera to get constant power to it. And I also had my light over there, which I moved over there in preparation for getting the green screen to light up the background. But the cable for the back of the light and the cable that plugs the battery are exactly the same shape, but one's 5 volts and one's 12 volts. And yes, I plugged the wrong one into the battery and basically short-circuited the camera. So the camera is completely out of action. It won't turn on at all. So instead, I don't know whether this is a full-time solution or not, but I've got a really long USB extension cable going all the way to the other side of the room now with the Osbot webcam that was featured in one of my videos recently. So I just have that webcam sat on top of the CRT for now. And I'm just hoping that it can pick up enough light and that it's clear enough that the green screen will actually still work with it. I tried the Osmo Pocket 3 over there, but the quality, when using it as a webcam at least, definitely was not up to the task of using it as a green screen. So hopefully this Osbot camera can do the job, but that does mean I don't have a webcam at my desk setup, which means that when I'm at work tomorrow, I will not be on camera because the camera's not on this side of the room anymore. So anyway, that's beside the point. We're not going to talk about work because I've only got a few hours. Then I need to go to sleep and wake up for work tomorrow, which I'm already getting upset about. But what can you do? That's life. Follow me on Patreon if you want to try and make my life a bit more bearable by potentially making RetroBreak full-time at some point in the future. But that is a long way off for now. So I am just making these podcasts and making videos to try and keep myself sane until that day hopefully comes one day in the distant future when I've actually figured out a format that people enjoy enough. But yeah, let's move on to the next part of the podcast. And the next part is usually games that I've been playing recently, but as you can probably tell, I haven't really sat down to play many games. I've barely even picked up the Switch 2, which is quite surprising because I was very excited for that to launch, and I played a bit of Mario Kart online, and I managed to get 3 stars on all the Grand Prix, and I haven't even touched the console since. I did play a little bit of Rocket Knight Adventures on the Mega Drive once I got everything set up last night, so I have sat down for at least half an hour and played something. I haven't touched Hotel Dusk again since I was last in a hotel, which was 3 weeks ago at this point. Let's see, what else? I did download the visual novel White Album because it was on sale, but I haven't really played anything other than turning it on to the title screen to see whether it works or not. And that's basically it for games for the past month or so. I've honestly barely played anything, and that's one of the reasons that I thought about making the topic of this podcast finding ways to enjoy games again, because I really do feel like I've kind of fallen out of love of gaming almost entirely. Any free time that I've had outside of work and videos, I just haven't felt like picking up a controller or sitting down to play anything. I'm either reading manga. I've been reading a lot of manga, and maybe I'll talk about some of that a bit later on. Or I've just been watching YouTube or just random things online. So kind of sad that I'm not playing more games, because I do really enjoy it. Obviously, it's like what I've built my entire personality around for the past 18 years or so. So it's not something that I can just let slip away. And hopefully I'll find some games that do manage to hold my interest long enough for me to actually play them without getting bored after 5 minutes, which is what seems to be happening recently. In terms of projects, which is usually the next part of this podcast, I've already mentioned the game room setup and the potential for future episodes of that, because the episodes have gone down very well. I am also still working on the Game Boy Hidden Gems video. That is getting very expensive, so I might just give up on the whole idea of needing to own a physical version of the games that I'm talking about in the episode, and actually just use some ROMs and just like flash up the prices on eBay and say this is just insane, unless you want to wait 10 years to get the episode out. So I might end up changing my mind and releasing that video sooner rather than later. And I've really been honestly struggling to kind of decide what I should actually focus on, because there's a lot I want to do, but at the same time, I don't really feel like I've got the enthusiasm to do anything. I don't know whether that's just because of where I'm at in life at the minute, or whether the path that I'm taking with YouTube and content in general is potentially not the path that I feel like I should continue going down. Obviously, I still want to make videos, but maybe I need to think about making something more interesting or more meaningful, rather than just continually, churning out the same kind of thing week after week that doesn't really either seem to be growing my channel or seem to be growing myself as a person either. So if anyone's got any suggestions for potentially more meaningful projects that I could try and tackle in the future, let me know. I mean, I do still have that everything you need to know games checklist, but even those videos are beginning to feel a little bit samey, and I really did pump out a load of history documentaries a few months ago, and none of them really did any better than any other random video that I can put like a few hours into instead of a few weeks. So it kind of felt a little bit pointless to put that much effort into something that's not going to be recognized as such. And I even put it all together into a massive 4-hour video, and even that's done no better than the average this year, which is already worse than the past few years put together. So I'm honestly kind of at a loss for how I should go forward with RetroBreak. Especially if I want to grow it into a career, I really need to try and, hone in on something that's going to be sustainable long term, and something that I can actually feel like I'm progressing in as well, rather than going around in circles. It's a very difficult thing to try and figure out. So if anyone's got any ideas, if you've listened this far, drop me a message on Discord. That's probably the place where I'll see it the easiest. There's a content discussion channel on there. Let me know on there what your thoughts are. Or if you're listening on YouTube as well, let me know down in the comments below. That's basically it for projects. Now let's move on to the final piece, which is content. And I've actually got a piece of content running on my second monitor. I haven't been paying it much attention, but GDQ has finally started again. So Summer Games Done Quick is actually on now, and they're playing through Banjo-Kazooie at the minute. And they've just got to Click Clock Wood, or they're like breaking out of bounds in Click Clock Wood as a bee and just flying behind the door. They've been doing a lot of out-of-bounds stuff, which is really fun. And I've enjoyed watching what there is so far. It's only day one. I enjoyed watching Sonic earlier. And I said I was going to talk about manga, so let's talk about some manga. I found an amazing manga series called Blue Box, and it began kind of generically as a kind of sports manga / something with a little bit of romance, but honestly, by like the 3rd or 4th volume, I was completely hooked, and I only found out about it a few months ago. I picked it up at a show that I was at. I can't remember where exactly, maybe Birmingham, and I picked it up, and since then I've actually picked up all 15 volumes that have been physically released in the UK, and I've been reading them constantly since I found out about the series, and I absolutely love it. And I've put my pre-order in for the next one, but now that means that I'm all up to date, and I have to wait like a month between volumes, which is quite sad. And another one that I've caught up with is a manga called Hirayasumi, and that is a very, very nice slice of life anime. Not romance in any real sense of the word, but it does have some very interesting characters, and there's kind of romance plot lines. But it's not the main focus. It's just a very feel-good story, and I think it was something that I really found at the right time, and it really did leave a meaningful impact on me. So that's another one that I've got pre-ordered for the latest volumes to come out whenever they get translated into English. So definitely recommend checking those two out. I also have pre-orders on Insomniacs After School, which was a manga that I found last year, which I really loved. I think that one's up to volume 9 at the minute, so definitely check that one out as well. And there's a bunch of other random things that I've been reading, but they're the three that have really stuck with me recently. And I honestly feel like I've been enjoying reading manga more than playing games at the moment. So maybe I should start a new channel called Manga Break. Who knows? That's probably not going to happen, by the way. I'm here for retro gaming for life, as far as I'm concerned. There is something else really interesting, but I'm probably going to save that for the next episode, so I've got something to talk about. In fact, I'm going to leave that as a secret for now, but I'm actually going to make a note in the notebook that I've got in front of me that is going to be the topic for the next episode, and that is actually also the topic for a very interesting video that I'm hoping to do next year, in maybe mid next year, after I've got married for the honeymoon. There's somewhere I want to go in particular, and right about this. That's where I'm going to leave it for now, though. So I'm actually making a note right now. In secret. There we go. That is it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening once again to the RetroBreak Podcast. I can't believe I'm in episode 60 plus at this point. It's amazing that I've managed to keep it going for so long. We're on the path to episode 100, and I'm also very close to my 50,000 subscribers as well. So there will be a special video over on YouTube to celebrate that milestone. And then we're halfway to a silver play button, and I'm really excited for what the future holds. I feel like I'm kind of at a wall that I need to break through, and I'm going to find a way. I'm going to do some journaling exercises or something. We'll get there. Anyway, that is it for now. I know I said that already and I carried on talking, but that is it. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all again in another 2 weeks' time for episode 62, which is titled